By the grace of Almighty God and your vote, I stand here today as your governor. This day marks the beginning of a new chapter in our journey to greatness. Today, I ask you to join me on this journey to awaken a greater Lagos. When we speak of a greater Lagos, we speak not of empty words. It is a deep and profound assertion we mean. We intend to take and make history by making ourselves and our children a better future. Therefore, on this day, on this precious land we call our home, let us stand together in this very place of history. Let us vow to ourselves and to prosperity that we shall not just dream of a greater Lagos. Let us agree this day that we shall collectively rise up to build a Lagos of our dream. We need not be discouraged by challenges that may be apparent. Today is an opportunity for us to forge ahead in our quest for a greater Lagos. It is possible. No one should ever underestimate the spirit of Lagos and the resilience of its people. Yes, hard problems may confront us, but we also will confront them. Every problem will lose its potency for our unity. Therefore, Lagosians, in this our new chapter, we need not cry or fret. We are united by a common purpose of a greater Lagos and a fulfilling future. Prosperity has given us today to commence our journey to greatness. We need to envision the glorious end of working together, tirelessly and committed, towards achieving the Lagos of our dream by our individual and collective efforts. And by the grace of God, these dreams will become a reality. In Lagos State, our story has been successes and achievement. Since 1999, when our tradition of progressive governance had set Lagos apart and the strengthened people believe in our ideology. And that, in the very reason I stand before you on this historic day as your governor, while we celebrate the victory of the progressive governance and democracy, tomorrow we must be ready to stand in guard and be fully vigilant. Democracy and progressive governance hold only to the extent that we protect and nurture them. Whilst Lagos gleams as a beacon of progressive and quality governance, our nation will undergo a historic battle to establish progressive and just governance. Lagos must rise and help us lead into a nation that is fuller of progress and is closer to realization of the greatness that exists within all Nigeria. This inauguration symbolizes such an awakening. Today, I stand before you as your governor, but also as your friend, your brother, your neighbor, and your servant. I stand here to ask that you join me to script and fashion this great Lagos with creativity of our minds. Let the ingenuity of our hands, the sweat of our labor, and the compassion that resides in our heart be committed to this common goal. We are but human beings. Our time on earth is finite and shall one day pass. At some point, we shall all enter the book of history. This is inevitable. But we can choose how we walk in history. Shall we do so as masters of our fate, or as slaves to the things that seek to suppress us? When the history of our moment is written, Let it not be told in tears of defeat. Rather, let it resound with the anthem of collective victory. Let our time be proclaimed in golden celebration of a state and of a people who stood in unity for the purpose to make our home a greater one. In this, we simply adhere to the tradition of enlightened government set by those who had come before us. We owe a large debt of gratitude to those before us, from General Mobolaji Johnson to Alhaji Lateef Jakande, to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to Babajide Fashola. Asiwaju led the team that created the blueprint for the progressive development. Both himself and Babajide Fashola's administration faithfully executed that economic blueprint and established the structures and institutions of progressive governance in that process. My predecessor, the former governor of Lagos State, Governor Akinwumi Ambode, pushed forward in a special manner. His efforts and his action shall be duly remembered. As your governor, I know fully well who I am because I know where I am from. More importantly, I know where I am headed. I have been part of this progressive journey since its inception. I know firsthand the concerted effort that went into planning so many of the innovations that we see and will enjoy today. It is also my job to continue that process by redefining and perfecting the foundation laid by the preceding administrations. In this regard, I shall forever remain loyal to the aspiration of our people and to the developmental blueprint and that has brought us so much successes to our dear state. The Babajide Sanwo-Olu you see today shall not change or try to become something I am not. My prayer is that I grow and I improve as your governor to implement good policies and bring about prosperity you all deserve. On this day, I speak to the young and to the old. I speak to Christians and Muslims. I speak to those who trace their earliest ancestral back to this land, and to those who come just last week. I speak to the poor and to the rich. I speak to the Danfo driver that is at CMS station. I speak also to the millionaire that is in Ikeja. I speak to the food vendor that is at my 12 market. I speak as much to the real estate titan that lives in Lekki. I speak to the employer that is in Badagry. I speak to the employee that is in Korodu. I speak to that teacher in Alimosho, and I speak to that student in Lasu. I speak to our mothers and our fathers. I speak to the civil servant in Alausa, and I speak to our public sector and our private sector. We are all Lagosians. I say to you all, let us explore how we can best establish an harmony of interest and avoid a glory tendency to focus on those things that divide and differentiate us. By the stink of providence, this small tract of land intersected and surrounded by waterways and lagoons has become home to over 20 million people with their various dreams and aspirations. Not only is Lagos home to so many people and their aspirations, it is also a catalyst of growth to Nigeria. The world outside sees Lagos as Nigeria. We are Nigeria's door to the global economy and the global economy's door to Nigeria. As long as Lagos flourishes, Nigeria has more than its fair chance to enjoy development and growth needed for a deserving population. If Lagos falters, Nigeria also may stumble. The reality of the integral role we play in Nigeria accents our national greatness, coupled with the untapped potentials as a whole to produce even a greater wealth, improve to the living conditions of our people, are the things that make Lagos a magnificent place. This strategic aspect of our current reality and of our immediate future bestowed on me today and my administration a profound responsibility. My goal is to advance the social and economic progress of this state and its people, regardless of your faith, regardless of your social class or your origin of birth. As long as you adopt the script of Lagos, Lagos will in turn adopt you. As I say in my acceptance speech, I'm too focused on moving Lagos forward to give a second thought to where any person has come from. As long as you're animated to the spirit of achievement, cooperation, and tolerance, then you are a Lagosian. This is my motto. This is how I see our home, and this is how I shall run my government. I shall select the best and the most qualified people to hold positions of authority in our government. My door shall remain open. I shall seek the advice of the learned, the wise and the ordinary Lagosians. For all the common man that recites much wisdom and fairness of thought. While one cannot help but hear the kind words of friends and family, I must pay even closer attention to the voice of my critics. In the constructive criticism lies the seed of improvement. With this in our mind, let us quickly outline the goals of a greater Lagos. The Deputy Governor, Dr. Kadri Obafemi Hamzat, and I are single-minded in our desire to bequeath to our successor a far greater Lagos than the one we have inherited today. And to do so, we have formulated a concise framework that encapsulates our collective vision for the state to ensure that our undertaking remains focused and our communication remains clear, and our endeavors to build a greater Lagos can only be a proud place we all call home. The framework of our 6 pillars of development agenda, which is called the themes, which I would mention as traffic management and transportation, health and environment, education and technology, making Lagos a 21st century economy, entertainment and tourism, and finally, security and governance. We will make and create the right environment in which security of life and property are guaranteed. In our ultimate goal will be to ensure that Lagos State remains the top destination for the continent for us to live, to work, and to invest. These 6 pillars of development represent the response of the yearnings of our people. They constitute the foundation that must be restored for our future. And should we fulfill our promise and deliver on these pillars, we are most confident that we will have succeeded in setting a Lagos on a new trajectory of economic growth and development that will be unprecedented in the history of our nation. Let me also add that in doing this, the welfare and the socio-economic well-being of our hardworking civil servant will equally be given priority that he truly deserves. Similarly, our youth and women would have an integrated place in our government structure to equally contribute their utmost to our developmental success. The mission upon which we embark today, it shall happen. As we gather force and momentum, there will be no mortal power that can stop our movement towards the greater prosperity, justice, and hope. I urge you all, therefore, to yourselves to this excellent cause and join us as we march to victory over our social and economic challenges. Do not stand by the side. Do not just wait and be a passerby. The heart and hand of Deputy Governor Dr. Kadri Hamzat and myself are extended to each and every Lagosian. Let us join our hands in this noble journey as we strive to birth and nurture a greater Lagos. However, make no mistake, the success of the development agenda must be a shared and collective responsibility. I implore you all as Lagosians to rededicate ourselves, contribute our individual culture positively and responsibly. All in reform our society and take it to a greater height. We must imbibe the spirit of being our brother's keeper in our daily lives, at home, at work, at our professional places, at our various places of work and worship, and especially on our roads. With this goals, embark on a social contract as the ultimate beneficiary of all, in respect of your age, your religion, your social status, or your education. Every negotiation